Hey guys, this is the latest from AUCAR. It is a 17.2-inch screen and infotainment system upgrade for 2019 and newer GMC Sierras and Chevy Silverados. It's meant to replace the boring 7-inch or 8-inch screens that may have came with your truck, and it also does a fabulous job of updating the interior. And being that this is their latest offering, it also comes with some new upgrades. So we're going to install it, set it up, and check it out. Let's go. Now you may remember about a year and a half ago, I installed this model right here. This is the 15.6-inch infotainment screen upgrade from AUCAR. I have a thorough installation video for this. I'll link it up here as well as put it in the video description below. Now a year and a half ago, I did predict that the market would be flooded with more screen upgrade options as time went on, and that's exactly what happened. But AUCAR, in my opinion, because of their product quality and their support, they are one of the top picks out there. Now a big misconception out there, especially for people that aren't familiar with these type of upgrades, is they think that these screens are replacing the electronics in the vehicle. That is not the case. This is a new screen. This is replacing the interface to get to all of your factory settings and controls that you had before. That's right, your 360 cameras, which I have on this truck, or your backup camera, your climate controls, everything is exactly as it was before, but you're viewing it through a different interface. That also means that some of your controls have been relocated or moved or digitized. So everything is still there because this is plug and play, no drilling, and easy to install. I have many reviews and tutorials on my experience with this screen, which I will also link in the video description below. But now for the main event. We have the 17.2-inch larger screen upgrade, as well as new knobs that are programmable and have LEDs in them that will change depending on what they're programmed to, as well as this uses the latest Android software available in these devices, which is Android 14. And the rumor is the CarPlay interface with the newest model is better than the previous generation. That will be a welcome addition for people that are looking to get into this model. Now, if the 17.2-inch screen isn't for you and you like the 15.6-inch size and you don't have one of these screens yet, this will also be available with the new features in the 15.6-inch size. And I wanted to point out there is a screen protector on here. That's why there's some swirl marks and scratches in this top piece of plastic. That needs to stay there just while we do the installation. So let's do a quick overview of what's in the box and then we'll get to the install. So in the box, and as you would expect, all the wiring that you need is included, and even some that you probably won't use, which I'll cover momentarily. I'm quite happy they include this reference sheet right here on how you can connect your sound, whether it be Bluetooth or auxiliary input if you have that option on your vehicle. Now, as for the installation manual, it does appear to be a refresh from what I had from a year and a half ago, but all of the important information is in there. Definitely something that you need to reference because it's going to tell you which cables you need to use and where they go on there. This cheat sheet is really nice to see. So whether you have the 7-inch screen or the 8-inch screen, when you first turn on the unit, if your console view doesn't look correct, you can use this tool to make sure that you configure it properly. So I'm really happy that that's included. Let's do a quick overview of all of these components. So we have our trim pieces here that are going to cover the screw holes when we mount the unit into the vehicle. Now this is the GPS antenna that they send you. You don't need to use this if you're going to tap into your factory GPS. I have a full video on how to do that, which I'll link in the video description below. They also include this speaker. This is an auxiliary speaker. For example, this will give you turn-by-turn directions if you're using Google Maps or Waze, if you're also listening to XM radio through your factory console. I'm not going to install this, but you would just want to mount it somewhere that you feel that you could hear it well enough when you have it connected to the dedicated spot on the back of the screen. Now, along the same theme, they send you a microphone. This is not required, so we're not going to install it. If you want an extra microphone, you can use it. Otherwise, this uses your factory microphone because, like I said at the beginning, this retains all of your factory equipment. I'll come back to this in a second as it is an optional add-on when you buy a screen like this. Over here, we have our dual USB inputs. These are not the same as the USB inputs that your vehicle came with. They are a completely separate system that only talks to the Android software that's built into this upgraded screen. So that's what these cables are for. And because we will be using them, they install right there. And this is your auxiliary input cable. If you have this option with the trim level of your truck, this is a good thing to use if you don't want to use the Bluetooth features and prefer an analog connection. Now, because I have this option, we will connect it to the screen now. This harness is for the auxiliary microphone, camera, and some audio options. And this one plugs right in here. This cable is for your SIM card. You'd pop this cap off and you would put a SIM card in there. They also ship some adapters. I am not going to be using a SIM card on mine. I just hotspot with my phone. Some people use OnStar for their Wi-Fi, but if you want to use a cellular connection, that's what this SIM card kit is for. This cable here is the speaker adapter, which would plug in right there if we were going to use this speaker, which we are not. Now these two cables are the power adapter plugs. They look very similar, but you're only going to use one depending on which screen you're replacing. There's an A and a B version. Mine uses A, and that goes right here. Now we have two cables left. Now this cable here, if you had a 7-inch screen that you're replacing, you would use this one and it would go right there. I'm replacing an 8-inch screen, so I don't need to use this one. I need to use this cable right here. This is our LVDS cable, and it plugs in right here. Now these, which I just took out of the bags, are your 4G antennas, and you would connect them right there. So if you're using the SIM card, then this would be something you need to connect to get your 4G cellular signal. Now this plug here is for your GPS antenna. We're going to take the adapter from my factory one that I already have in place, and we're going to plug it in right there. Now these are your Wi-Fi antennas. They're already installed. There's nothing to do there. So if you want to hotspot your phone and use its Wi-Fi, or use the OnStar that may come with your vehicle for its Wi-Fi, or if your network in your home reaches, you could use Wi-Fi while you're parked in the garage or on the property. Now a quick look at this optional accessory here. It's an HD USB DVR camera. Essentially it's a USB camera that will plug in to the USB ports to the screen, not our factory USBs, to these ones here. And there should be an app on the screen that can read the information from this camera and record it for playback later. I'm not sure this will be part of this video, but I might have it as part of a follow-up. Okay, now it's time to take the old screen out, put the new one in. I'm gonna go through this installation quite a bit faster than the original time I did it a year and a half ago. That installation is the exact same as this one's going to be. So if you wanna see it in depth, please use the link in the video description below, but let's get on with it. So now we have the old screen out, but I think this is a good time to illustrate a point that I made earlier. So this 8-inch screen or 7-inch, whatever you had, is just this portion right here. This is just a touch screen. There is no brain, if you will, located in this screen or this interface. And this is our new replacement screen interface. So you're just replacing screens, but this one, obviously being the upgrade, adds more features because it's essentially got a giant tablet attached to it, and it's not just a touchscreen interface. So this means that all of our factory options and settings are still with the truck. You aren't losing anything by upgrading to this setup here. Now before we install our new screen, you can see there's a bunch of empty holes here. We need to take components from the old setup and put them in the new setup. So we have our vents will transfer over. We have these switches right here that transfer over. And we have these, depending on the options that you have, that also need to transfer over. You'll notice that the infotainment and climate controls, they don't get transferred over here because some are retained with buttons, but most of them are going to be digitized on the new screen. The transfer process is very simple. Just take your time. Behold, everything's transferred over. We are ready to install it. Again, this is a screen protector. You can see just putting it on my mat here has kind of pushed on it a little bit. We'll peel that off at the end, but we are ready to go. Okay, we got everything installed. It's actually a few days later, so I've had some time to play with the unit and set it up so we can do a proper demonstration of some of its features with you today in this video. And one of the very first configuration issues that some people run into, I run into as well. So I'm going to show you exactly how to remedy that. So when you first turn on the screen with the ignition or the accessory, you'll want to see your console view, which is the steering wheel icon right here. This will tell you if your settings are correct to interface with your factory systems. As you can see, mine is not correct. Part of it's cut off and zoomed in. This is a simple fix and just requires some setting changes. First, you go to Apps, then Settings, then System, Setting Guide, Car AC Model, and enter the code 666-888 and hit OK. Now you need to select a different setting than what it's currently at. I chose a model year a little newer than mine. The system will now reboot a couple of times, and you're gonna have to keep doing this until you get the correct setting. Once it finally looks right, there is now a high chance that your touchscreen interface won't work in this view. Trust me, this is just part of the process. Now this is where you can take a mandatory break, turn off your truck, close the door, lock it, and let the truck fall asleep for at least 20 minutes. There are cases where this could take longer. Now that that's done, you come back, start it all up again, and now chances are everything will work just fine. Now you can move on to the next important step. Now remember at the beginning of the video I told you there are two ways to connect this device to get audio from the new tablet, we'll call it, to play through the audio of your vehicle. So right now I'm connected with the auxiliary cable, and I'm going to use that primarily for most of the functions with my setup right now. But using the sheet that they send you, it does recommend if you have auxiliary and you're going to use it, use the auxiliary function, but then do not connect the Bluetooth connection simultaneously. Pick one or the other. You can certainly connect both simultaneously, and then you'll have different connectivity options. Maybe you prefer to use Bluetooth for some of the music or something that you're playing off of the screen that you've added with one of the apps, but maybe you want to use auxiliary when it comes to, say, watching Netflix. It's really going to be a preference. I'm just going to use my demonstrations with the auxiliary cable for now. I find it's a little simpler, but it's not necessarily what everyone's going to do. But remember, if you have both going on, it does make it more confusing to use. So next I just want to run through some settings in the console environment, which is your factory infotainment view, because some people, again, they get confused once they do this installation. They're not quite understanding how each system is talking to each other. You really have an Android side and you have your factory infotainment system side. So we're just going to look at a couple things and hopefully these tips help you. So here's our console view. Now this screen has a lot of real estate, so it gives you your factory view at the top, and then it takes some of the buttons that were previous buttons and it digitizes them. But you also have all of your climate controls. If you just press in this area here, it brings up this temporarily. It times out quite quickly, but it stays around just long enough that you can use it. You see it has buttons like synchronize, recirculated air, auto. So right now it's adjusting the temperatures. You can see these new LED knobs light up to reflect the temperatures that are on the screen, and they change regardless of where I'm adjusting the temperature. I'm going to show you that a little later, but I just want to show some of the functionality of other things first. So this will time out and disappear. But again, you have your heated seats, air conditioned seats if you have that option. Everything's here. I just turned off the climate control so it's not interrupting us with the sound of the fan. But when we're here, if we go to audio, you can see I have multiple audio connections available. This is a factory module, your AM radio. This is a factory module with FM, factory XM, my wife's phone, we call her mom around here, my phone, and then we have the auxiliary connection, which is in my console. So right now I have auxiliary connected. That means anything that's connected with the auxiliary cable, which is this screen, which are all these apps, that is going to play through my auxiliary connection for me to hear it. Now, if I happen to have Bluetooth set up where this screen with all of its apps was connected through Bluetooth to my factory console, then everything would be communicated via Bluetooth wirelessly to the truck's Bluetooth module. So this is where some people get confused, and I'll just do a demonstration here quickly. Just make sure my volume is not on too loud. They'll be on FM radio. They'll go over to their apps. They'll try to play Netflix as an example. Netflix is on, but they still hear radio. And what will happen is they'll send me an email or a message, or they'll put it in a Facebook post, and they'll be concerned that they're not able to hear the appropriate audio for what they're watching. All it is a simple connection issue because they never switched over to the appropriate setting in their console. Now, depending on your trim level, I can also do this from the gauges in my gauge cluster here. So I can change to auxiliary, AM, FM radio, whatever, right in my gauges. I don't have to bring up the console screen, but that's not going to be everybody's situation. So next I want to talk about CarPlay. There are a couple ways that you can utilize CarPlay on this unit as well as Android Auto. Now, because I've had this unit and others over time, let me just say that CarPlay can be an inconsistent experience depending on what you're trying to do. So first of all, yes, you can make this entire screen CarPlay. I'm just going to show you that there's an app. This is a new and improved app compared to the previous generation. This one here, I've tested it and it gives me a reliable CarPlay connection. The only reason I don't have it set up right now, but I'm still going to show you some footage while I'm talking of when I did have it set up. It does CarPlay fine in all its glory. Where I run into issues is when I want to manage my phone calls and my communication when I have CarPlay loaded through the screen, but I want to make my Bluetooth wireless calls with my built-in microphones and have it sound crisp and clear without any delays. Now, I played with the Bluetooth side of it. I've told you I'm using the auxiliary in side of it right now. I've had both on, I've had one or the other, and I found that if I run CarPlay through my original factory module when I want to use CarPlay, and I don't use CarPlay on this screen, I'm able to have those phone calls not have any echo, and it's a seamless experience. However, I only get part of the screen, and I'll show you that. So if I go back to my console here, I can actually just load up CarPlay, and it looks like this. So I have CarPlay right here. At the same time CarPlay is running, I can easily go to another app. What I can also do, and I think you'll like this, is I can do multiple. I could have the split screen that's built into this unit. I can do YouTube on one part of it. I could have CarPlay going. I could have one or the other. I can switch between either one to make it full screen. So I think that this is a potential way that you could look at configuring this. But again, you can make CarPlay full screen if you want to use the CarPlay connection that's built in to this screen upgrade. For a while, I'm going to try it this way and see how much I like it. I've had it the other way for a long time, and I can always switch back. That's the beauty about this. It's flexible for your needs. So now I want to explain these new upgraded programmable knobs. This is a welcome addition to this new style screen. So if we direct our attention to both of these knobs, right now they're in the default climate settings for the driver and the passenger. I mentioned earlier that you can still synchronize all of your dual climate controls. That's all there, none of that changes, but we can designate how we want these knobs to behave. So all you need to do is you press once to turn it on or off. So now my climate's turned back on, and now I can make those adjustments. And you can see that those adjustments are being made also on the screen. I can also make the adjustments on the screen and it changes on the knob. But this isn't adjusting the fan. Well, here's something I could do. I could hold this down for 5 or 6 seconds and it's going to change. Now it's fan speed. It resets, so the climate control turned off. I just tap it. Now it's back on. Now I can adjust fan speed. You can see that it's interacting there, just like from the factory. It's also interacting on this screen. I can also adjust it from this screen. So I got a physical knob or a digital version, and I have it in multiple places. Now, maybe I don't want the fan over there, I want it over here. I could make the fan this one. It's going to shut the climate controls off just by default. Now it's back on. You can see it's adjusting on both sides because they're adjusted to do the same thing. Lastly, hold this down. We now have volume. It's going to mute everything by default. Just tap it and that'll turn everything back on. Let's put the radio on here. Just going to turn this climate control off because it's blowing cold air at me. So we have volume on the side here now. So that is very handy, especially if you have a passenger like my wife that's always instructing me on when to turn the music up or turn the music down. She also changes the music all the time, which I don't appreciate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this set to climate, and then I'm going to have it synchronized over both areas because I mostly drive alone, and then I'll leave that one there so the wife can turn the music up when she wants to jam. All right, now I just want to demonstrate some of the apps, what I've done, how they're working. We can check all that out, and then you get a good sense, hopefully, of exactly what this screen can do. And trust me, you can do so much more. We're only scratching the surface. So I'm gonna go to the home screen. This just happens to be the dashboard that it comes preloaded with. You can easily go into your settings and you can change your homepage style maybe to something that seems a little more normal to what you're used to. Maybe this is kind of the layout that you like. I actually don't mind the other one. It creates some shortcut widgets that I happen to like. So I like this. It gives, you know, some data on our vehicle, tells my local temperature and weather statements, my media if I had anything loaded. I have Google Maps here pre-downloaded for a large area that I live in, so I can even look at this offline. I don't have to be connected to the internet, but I am. Right now I'm on my home Wi-Fi. You can connect with your cell phone's hotspot. You can connect with OnStar, or you can put a dedicated SIM card in, which we talked about earlier during the installation or the review of all the wiring. That's gonna be your best connection, just to make sure all the apps on the Android side have an internet connection and work all the time, especially if you're gonna have CarPlay set up with this unit for full screen. CarPlay and Wi-Fi at the same time, they don't play nice. Let's have a look at Netflix first. We'll bring up Netflix here. The neat thing about this is some of the apps, they're compatible with downloads. So I actually have a pre-downloaded show here for demonstration purposes. We'll just hit play here. You're gonna notice that we don't hear anything because right now I'm on the radio. So hopefully you were paying attention and you know how to switch that over. But first I'm gonna make this fit the screen because you notice it was stretched there. So that's all you have to do is pinch that. Now you would go to your console to make this look proper. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could swipe up and get our controls here. And I could just go find my console wherever I had it loaded last. Switch to auxiliary. And then I could do that same thing again. And then this time go to Netflix. And now I should have audio.
Absolutely not.
I was the one who suggested.
Well, absolutely, I do have audio, so she was incorrect. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to watch this on the screen quite in this form. If I'm going to be sitting in my vehicle waiting for my wife to finish shopping in the craft store, then I'm going to watch it with something else going on and do some multitasking. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave here. We're going to go back to home. And you can see that I can move this around now in a smaller version while I'm doing other things. Maybe I want to browse the internet. Maybe I want to do some shopping. Maybe I want to go to the Don's Life website and have a look at what great stuff they have on there. Either way, you can see that we have the ability to do multiple things at once. Another way we could do this is we could split screen it with another app. So I am going to swipe up. I am going to go home. And here it is right here. But I have presets already. So I have Netflix and Maps. I could do that. But maybe I want to change things up. I'm going to go Netflix and console. So I'm going to change this to Netflix. And now when I press this together, I get Netflix on one end and I get auxiliary on the other. Now it did kick me out of what I was watching, but it's simple enough for me to go back and start watching it again. Let me just show you some other presets. I got YouTube and Maps set up here. So maybe I want to do some navigation, but maybe I want to watch, you know, a video. So here we have YouTube. I can navigate at the same time. You can see it's working great. We're using Wi-Fi right now. So pretty neat. There's a slight audio delay, but I found that with the auxiliary cable, it isn't enough to bother me. I know it's going to bother some people more than others. There is a setting that you can do. I haven't tested it thoroughly, where you can have auxiliary turned on and Bluetooth. And then with an update that is already available for this screen, once you apply that patch, it allows you to use auxiliary, and supposedly the delay is even less. I'm okay with how it's performing right now, but I thought I should share and disclose that there can be an audio delay depending on what you're doing. Anytime you have video trying to synchronize with audio, because the audio has to go through a different system to be able to go through the factory speakers. So next, I just wanted to explain Disney Plus very quickly. So Disney Plus, when I first installed it, guess what? It said you can't use this yet until you update it. But now I wanted to show you I have it working, and I'm going to tell you exactly how. So you can see Disney Plus works. That's established. But you'll see that there's an app on here called APK Pure. So this right here. This app is going to allow you to download, just an ad right now, it's going to allow you to download apps that are typically on the Google Play Store that maybe have compatibility issues with some systems such as this. So if you go to Disney Plus here, which you can see it's in my history, I actually uninstalled the one that came with the screen because when I went to update it, it said this needs to be updated, but also it's not compatible with this device. I just went here and I downloaded this version. You can see it's already set to open because it's installed. And this is the Disney Plus that I reinstalled and it works just fine. I've also installed Apple TV and it works great. All the things you saw me do with Netflix, YouTube, you can split screen it with Apple TV as well. Those are some examples of some media apps, but what if we just want to sit here and play a game? No problem. So you could install something like Angry Birds as an example. Just loading up here. So that works. A popular one from the old screen that I did a video on was emulators. So I got Lemeroid here. I've downloaded some ROMs. Bluetooth controllers will work fine. This is still tied to my previous screen that I had. And then we still have controls right here if you want to do it this way, but this will all work. I promise I'm a better Tetris player than this, and I could recover, but we don't have that kind of time, but you can play games on the screen. Now, as you might be aware, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I have this. I have the switch panel down here, and it controls all of my lighting. Well, there's an app for that. So I have the switch panel app right here. Right now it's full screen. It's more designed for a phone than this here. So I've actually changed it up and made it split screen with my console. I think it just looks a little better in presentation here. You'll see in a second. And now I can control all of my lighting. So there's my light bar. You can see reflecting off of the garage. And I can control all of these. So if you look down here, you can see there's a light on my backup lights. Maybe I want these pod lights turned on. You can see they're turned on, but I can turn them off up here. So I could use this effectively and not have the physical buttons anymore if I wanted. And don't worry, when you put it in reverse, just like the last screen, it will automatically trigger and show you the video image on your screen here from your reverse cameras, as well as your proximity sensors work just as they had before. And remember, if you want to have those cameras close by, just leave half your screen as the console and the other half as something else. Now you might remember this and you thought I probably forgot. I did not. It took me a little while to get this to work. There is software, when you connect this to the USB cable that comes with the screen and you go to your file explorer, you'll find this device has a file folder with the software you need to get the camera to work. I went to the website and they had some screenshots of the software they were using. I couldn't get that to work, but the software that was included on here, no problem, got it to work. So if you go in here, there's an app called UCAM, very easy to install. Once this is plugged in and you find it, just double click it, it will install the app. But now we have a 1080p dash cam that we just need to mount to our window, and it will allow us to record anything when it's turned on. The only thing to note is it takes a micro SD card. It's not recording to the hard drive or the storage that the screen comes with. So again, this is optional, but basically it's a very inexpensive dash cam that you can hook up to this screen. So I think this is a great place to end the video. I forgot to point out early on when I first installed it, but now that I'm used to it and driving around with it, I was worried it might be too tall based on the new screen size, but with my sitting position and my eye level, I can still see the pocket on the dashboard, and this doesn't obstruct it. When I'm standing outside the truck, it doesn't look like an eyesore sticking out above the dash. Honestly, I've seen OEM screens stick out a lot further, and this actually looks pretty good. So if this is something you want to learn more about, I will definitely leave a link in the video description below. You can also use the promo code Don's Life to save money on any T-style screen. So that would be like this generation, the previous generation. They call them Tesla style screens, and they have them available for more than just the GMC and Chevy platforms, but definitely use the discount code if you want to save some money. I'm looking at getting one of these for my sister for her Toyota, so that might be in an upcoming video as long as her wiring harness isn't all chopped up. You want to have the original connections to connect to so you don't run into problems. That being said, I do have to say that be careful out there when you purchase any of these aftermarket screen upgrades. There's knockoffs out there. You want to make sure that you're buying a genuine product, in this case from AUCAR, that's legitimate, has warranty, and more importantly, after-sales support. So if you were to buy an AUCAR screen with the link that I provide, you are also going to be invited to join a larger community, which is on Facebook, dedicated to helping you with not only customizing your experience, but helping you if you have problems. And that community is a large community of owners, and we're all there to answer questions and help out as best we can. But trust me, there's a lot of dedicated owners as well as AUCAR affiliated people that are willing to help you as part of that community. So keep that in mind when you're making the decision. And if that works for you, great. I know you'll feel taken care of. So on that note, if you felt this video was good and informative, please hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. And please consider subscribing because I will be providing more updates. And I have a lot of installs planned, especially in the 12-volt space when it comes to adding accessories, whether it's to your car or your truck. So you'll definitely want to check that out. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.